Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. Over 2.5 years ago, we put forward a proposal to bring change to New Jersey's criminal justice system and its broken bail system. We did that 2.5 years ago. In that time, we've worked together to achieve bipartisan legislation that proves it's possible to put aside our differences and conventional politics and actually fix something that needs fixing in this state. Unfortunately, though, we are nearly out of time to act. Legislators are running the risk of running out the clock on getting this done for an entire another year. That's just not responsible, and it's not acceptable. It's a pretty simple thing. The current system allows folks charged with serious, violent crimes and who continue to pose a clear danger to the community to be back out on the street while awaiting trial. At the same time, we have a system that keeps those who commit minor, nonviolent offenses behind bars simply because they can't afford a minimal amount of bail. These people sit in jail for an average of 10 months, while violent people who can afford the bail walk free. This doesn't make any sense. How can we continue to allow a system to exist that fails our poor, that fails those who pose no risk to our communities, and that fails our citizens because we're allowing dangerous people to walk free just because they can afford to? It's not a fair system. It's not a system that makes sense, and it's not a system that works for people who we are supposed to be protecting. Tomorrow, the Senate and the Assembly should post and pass the constitutional amendment and the bill that would finally overhaul this system. These proposals would change the system to one where we actually release individuals arrested for minor crimes without bail and ensure that those who pose the biggest risk, the severest threats to our community, are kept behind bars and off our streets. SCR 128 is the constitutional amendment that would provide flexibility in the justice system to allow for individuals proven to be dangerous and a threat to public safety to be held without bail ahead of trial. This amendment would bring New Jersey law in line with the federal judicial system. And let me stop there for a moment and say, you know, I worked under that system as the chief federal law enforcement officer in this state for 7 years. And I know that judges act responsibly in making those judgments, and I'm confident that New Jersey state court judges would act responsibly as well. S 946 is the companion bill that reduces the current reliance on monetary bail and creates alternatives for individuals charged with nonviolent offenses. This would bring fairness to low-income individuals who have not been charged with violent crimes and do not belong being warehoused in jail awaiting trial because they can't afford bail. If the legislature fails to pass the constitutional amendment, it will not go before voters this November, and these important reforms will be delayed for another year. There is no excuse for failing to act and getting this done now. This is good government. It's supported by Republicans and Democrats. It has united our state's Supreme Court and our urban mayors. It has brought together an incredibly broad cross-section of advocacy groups here in New Jersey. I'm proud to have some of those people standing together with me today. Mayor Red of Camden and Mayor Jackson of Trenton, Roseanne Scotti of the Drug Policy Alliance, Jerome Harris from the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, Gail Muhammad of Women Who Never Give Up, Reva Foster of the New Jersey Black Issues Convention, Reverend Errol Cooper of the First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens, and Reverend Scott with the Faith Christian Counseling Center. But we're far from just having this group behind this issue. The NAACP has supported this package of changes, as has the ACLU. Let me stop there for a second. The ACLU has actually supported something that I'm doing. This should be noted, and briefly, but noted. The Evangelical Pastors Association of Hudson County, the Integrated Justice Alliance, the Legislative Ministry of New Jersey, the Latino Action Network, the Nehemiah Group, the New Jersey chapter of the American Correctional Association, the New Jersey Association on Corrections, Americans Friends Services Committee, the Prison Watch Project, People's Organization for Progress, Normal New Jersey, Fathers and Men United for a Better Trenton. And even Bishop Reverend Jackson called me yesterday from Africa because he was so concerned that this might not happen. And he issued a statement, and the statement is in part as follows: this is not hard to do, but it is hard to understand why what a majority wants can't get acted upon. In the words of Spike Lee, I urge all parties to do the right thing. Instead, we're losing time, and there are more stunning examples of the utter failure of this system. The Times of Trenton reported that a man who police arrested earlier this month and had been granted bail for a litany of charges, including multiple counts of first-degree robbery, despite his prior convictions. And what was he arrested for this month? A home invasion here in Trenton. And while robbing the family, he and his accomplice pointed a gun at the family's 8-month-old baby and threatened to stick the child in an oven and turn it on if their demands were not complied with by the innocent citizens living in that home. Those are the consequences of not fixing this system. That person belonged behind bars, but judges in New Jersey under the current system had no ability to do so. They are required to offer bail. And many of these folks who are significant criminals and drug dealers have the money to be able to make those bails. In Essex County, Virgil Suggs was arrested for conspiracy and burglary in April of 2012. Initially given $50,000 bail, was later reduced to $20,000 bail. And even though Mr. Suggs had 2 prior narcotics convictions, several disorderly persons arrests, and had served time in state prison, he was released on bail. And while he was out, on October 2nd of 2012, he committed a murder. In Morris County, Gary Smith, a reputed member of the Blood Street Gang, was arrested at his home with 7 ounces of cocaine, a loaded semi-automatic handgun, and drug manufacturing equipment. He pled guilty to first-degree maintaining and operating a CDS facility, but was out on bail, $400,000 bail with a 10% cash option, awaiting a surrender date when he was arrested once again on second-degree possession with intent to distribute cocaine, second-degree distribution of cocaine, and third-degree possession of cocaine along with handling a dangerous and deadly weapon. In Mercer County, Marquise Risher, a known violent offender with multiple prior arrests for controlled dangerous substances and weapons possession. He was picked up on May 5th, 2014 on an outstanding warrant and released once again after posting bail. He was arrested again 5 days later for illegal possession of a handgun and body armor penetrating bullets. He once again posted $50,000 bail, even though he had 2 pending weapons charges and a history of failing to appear in court. What happened 9 days later? In a gun battle, he was shot on the streets of Mercer County. Finally, again in Mercer County, Keith Day was arrested on May 12, 2014 for possession of a controlled dangerous substance by the Trenton Police Department and released after having been arrested and released 5 days earlier for outstanding criminal warrants related to drug and violent offenses. 2 days later, after he was released, he was shot and killed. I know that some of the members of the legislature aren't happy about me reviewing this litany of failures of this system, and they're certainly not happy about being brought in off of summer vacation tomorrow to get this done. But we simply can't allow the safety of our communities and the fair treatment of nonviolent and low-income offenders to continue to be the victim of politics and procrastination. So I'd hope that the legislators will think tomorrow of a number of different things. But I hope that they particularly think of that family here in Trenton, safely in their homes, having someone out on bail invade their homes, put a gun to their 8-month-old child, and then threaten to put that child in an oven if all of their demands were not met. This is the result of this broken system. Not to mention the thousands, rather, of broken families that are created by low-income individuals who are nonviolent and no threat to our society, being ripped from their families, lose their jobs, lose their homes, while they sit in jail awaiting trial. Neither of these circumstances make any sense. And so I'm going to continue to work with every group that I can to be able to make sure that this happens this week. And, you know, it's not easy sometimes to get these things done, but it's important to get them done. And I believe that this is what bipartisanship is supposed to look like. And everybody all the time says they want that. Well, this is what it looks like. And it's not easy. And there are going to be some people who disagree. But the overwhelming majority of the legislature, from what I can tell, is in support of this. So we need the Senate President to post it tomorrow in the Senate for a vote. and we need the Assembly Speaker to post it tomorrow in the Assembly for a vote. If it's put on the board, it will pass. And I'm confident that if it's put on the ballot this November, the people of New Jersey will understand the importance of this and will pass it as well. So I want to thank all the folks who are here, not just for being here. Really, that's the smallest part of what they've done over the past number of months, because this has been an ongoing effort of my office and the legislature, meeting with these groups and the constituents they represent to craft a proposal that all of them can get behind. And so when we have this opportunity to do this, we shouldn't let it pass. And that's why I'm taking this strong executive action that I've taken in asking the legislature to come back. I don't do this lightly. I have not done it often in my time as governor, but I believe this issue, the safety of our communities and the fairness of a criminal justice system to all the people who come in contact with it, is an important enough matter to get people off vacation, into work, and to get the job done. So I want to thank everyone up here for their support and their leadership on this issue. I call on other members of our leadership, political leadership across the state, to speak out as well on this issue. Folks need to be heard on this, and I think if the appropriate advocacy is made publicly and loudly over the course of the next 36 hours, that we'll have a good result on Thursday, and we'll begin to craft a criminal justice system that protects the innocent and is fair to everyone who comes into contact with it, regardless of your financial status. So thank you all for coming today. Thank you all for coming. I look forward to working with you. I'll be working hard over the next 36 hours to try to make sure this gets done. Thank you all for coming.